This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, and online store. Visit squarespace.com for a free trial and 10% off when you use the offer code AEMikey. Hey, this is Mikey with another After Effects tutorial, and in this video I've got some really cool stuff I'm going to do. It's an animated web search. So whether you need this for an infographic or if you're animating about your new website, this is going to be great. There's some great tips, and I can't wait to get started. So there's lots of cool little things you're going to learn from this tutorial, and we're going to be doing this with shape layers. I've got a new preset that I have made just for this tutorial that I'm going to be giving out for free, and also just a couple of little quick tips and tricks that you're going to learn along the way in this tutorial. So let's kind of break this down. There's a couple of parts to this. We have first the background. It's kind of this pinstripe background. We've got this search word that is kind of highlighting and doing that thing. We've got this search icon that when it's clicked on, it expands and opens up into the enter your search term phrase there. And then we've got the mouse cursor that comes up and clicks on it. So those are the parts. So let's take them, just one part at a time, and let's start with the background. So I'm going to create a new composition called search bar. This is just 7 seconds long, 1920 by 1080. And let's create a new solid. So layer, new solid. And I want this to be kind of a grayish color. So right about there, click OK. Make sure it's comp size. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another new solid. And I want this one to be slightly lighter, just a tiny bit. And then I'm going to add to this. I haven't renamed these because I'm going to pre-compose them all together in one background layer. But I'm going to add to this an effect. If you go to transition, it's called Venetian blinds. And it creates stripes. I just want a very subtle kind of a pinstripe. And maybe a little feather to that. Just about like that. I don't know how easy it is to see that on the internet, but there's just a nice subtle pinstripe to it. So now that we got these, I'm going to combine them both together into one composition. Just call it BG for background. And I'm going to go ahead and lock that. Now that we have that, let's start to build our other elements. Now, if we go back and look, we had the search, the word here, and then the icon. Let's start with this icon. So I'm going to grab a shape layer. Just draw a square. I'm going to adjust these parameters later. Call it the icon. And this rectangle, let's name that orange back, because that's what we're going to start with. Let's come into the rectangle path. Let's go 150 by 150. Stroke, I want this set at 2 and have it white. Fill, let's get a nice orange color. And transform, make sure that your position is zeroed out, so it's nice and centered. So that's the orange back. Now we want to create the search icon on top of that. And so while I have my contents folder selected, I'm going to go to add a new group, hit enter, call this icon. Let's move it onto the top. And now while I have that group selected, I'm going to add a new ellipse, add a new stroke, and this stroke I want to be I think 4. I think the ellipse we can go down to 70, maybe 60. Click back on the icon, or on the ellipse actually, and then I want to add a fill, and this fill I want to be the same color as this orange. And I think we need a thicker. There we go. Now I need to move this up to the corner. So I'm going to do that in the icon transform icon parameter. And I'm going to go to position and let's do -20 by -20. And let's zoom in so we can kind of see better what we're doing. And the last thing is I'm going to grab the pen tool, make sure my icon folder is selected, click right here, and then hold down shift, and it'll keep it on a 45. And what I want to do is I want to round the bottom of that. And what this came up is as just a shape 1 down here in the contents. If I go to stroke, and under the line cap, change it to round, and it looks like I put my fill in the wrong spot. Oh, you know what I did? I need to put my shape underneath the icon. There we go. Let me just close all of these down. So now what we have here is a nice little shape. And it's maybe not be in the right exact spot, but I can fix that easy enough. So let's come back into this icon, transform, and then this is where I need to transform this. So maybe let's go -15 by -15. And now that's starting to look like a little magnifying glass. Okay, so that's the first part. And I like to do it all in one shape layer because I'm going to add an effect to this later, and I want to be able to apply it to everything and not have to do multiple effects on the multiple layers. Now the next part we want to do is the search bar, which is this right here. Now this one you do have to do in multiple layers, but let's just start with one. So I'm going to grab a shape layer and let's just draw a rectangle. Let's put it underneath there, and let's start to adjust the parameters. So we want this to be 1000 by 150, and then let's make sure it's centered out. So let's go into the position, put 0, 0, and this is all just within the shape layer. Let's go to the stroke, set that to 2. Okay, now what we want to do now is I need to duplicate this layer. So 2 of these. This top one is going to be text boxed stroke. This bottom one will be text box fill. And what I want to do now is go into this stroke one, into the contents, and then take the fill layer, turn it off, or I can just delete it. And in the fill, let's come in and take the stroke layer and turn it off, or I can just delete it. And what this is going to do is it's when I add the drop shadow on the inside, it's still going to have this nice, crisp, white border around it. So let's go to the text box fill. Let's go to layer, layer styles, add an inner shadow. And then let's come down to the layer styles down in the timeline. Go into inner shadow. Let's take the distance down to 0 and increase the size and decrease the opacity. We just want a little hint. And that's looking pretty good. So I want to take a quick break from this tutorial and talk about our sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace.com. Now, if you haven't checked them out, it's really simple. It's really easy. There's lots of beautiful designs. Pretty much everything is drag and drop content. And the thing that's great about this is plans start at $8 a month, and that includes a domain name. So if you've ever been out shopping for hosting and domain names, you know this is very competitive pricing. Now, I've been playing around with Squarespace myself, and one thing that I found which is really cool, this is my favorite thing, is how responsive these templates are and how they work great if you're on an iPhone, on an iPad, a tablet, a laptop, a normal desktop computer, anything. These websites are going to just automatically scale and fit to them just perfectly. And so you don't have to worry about whether, someone's on the phone, if it's going to look good, because it's going to look good with these Squarespace sites. So it's super easy to get started. You don't even need a credit card to sign up for this trial. And when you decide to sign up for Squarespace as a monthly thing, make sure you use the offer code AEMikey, and you can get 10% off your first purchase. And I just want to say thank you to Squarespace for supporting this show, and that's it. So make sure you go check it out, squarespace.com. Now let's get back to this tutorial and finish up. It's now time to start animating this. And the way I like to do animations is sometimes I like to start in the middle and then work my way to the middle. So I want this animation to kind of fly open right around 3.5 seconds. So right in the middle of the composition, because it's 7 seconds long. So at this point, I want these search bars to be completely condensed. So let's go into, and I want to transform the rectangle path. So I'm going to keyframe the size. Let's bring that down to 150. And same thing on the fill. Keyframe the size. Go 150. And now a neat little trick is once I have keyframes on here, I'm going to highlight both of those and just hit the U on my keyboard, and it brings up just those 2 keyframes. And then let's go forward 12 frames. So we're right at 4 seconds. And let's bring both of these to 1000. Okay, so there's the first animation. And next I need to now animate the position of this. So let's go to transform, click on position. Let's go forward 10 frames. So I can do a little bit of math. It's 1,000 frames wide, so or 1,000 pixels wide. That means I've got 500 from the center to there, and this is 150, so that means I've got 425 from here to here. So I need to add just 425 to this. So if I come into position, I click there and I just unselect it, hit plus 425, it'll boom, bring me right to the exact spot I need it to. So I don't have to worry about guessing on that. Now that I have all these keyframes, I want to turn them into easy ease. So I'm going to highlight them all, hit F9, and I'll easy ease them. Now I want to come into the graph editor. And right here, there's the graph edit button. Click on that. And let's first go position for the icon. I'm going to click on that, hold down shift, just bring it over. Let's go size on the top text box and then size on the bottom text box. And I'm just grabbing this last keyframe and bringing the handle all the way over to the left. And it's going to make it so it starts faster and then slows down. So let's turn off the graph editor and maybe there, that looks pretty good. So now we can either start working on the mouse or we can start working on the text. I like to start working on the mouse next. And this is where my new preset comes in. And the preset is called Magic Wand. If you've ever used Photoshop, they've got a tool in there called Magic Wand, and there's not really a tool in After Effects to do that. You can add some different presets or some different filters to create that. And what I've done is I've done that and I've created a Magic Wand preset. So let's grab this mouse icon. And the reason why is you'll see here in a second. This picture I have of the mouse icon, it's a white mouse icon or a cursor on top of a white background. So in order to get rid of the white background, I would really just have to go in and mask every, single little stair step right here. I can't use the Luma key because it's going to get rid of the inside and the outside. So this is where my preset comes in. I'm going to just grab it, drag it right on. And so there's a point control, that's your wand. There's a color control just in case the color green, maybe something you're trying to use, has a lot of green in it. And then there's a tolerance slider. So I'm going to grab my point control and I'm just going to pick right there. And see, as I drag this around, you can see it's just turning those invisible. Okay, so that's just a quick little preset I made. You can download it. I've got a link in the description, or you can just click on this annotation. Absolutely free, but if you wanted to donate some money, I'm totally cool with that as well. So let's take this now. I'm going to scale this down. I like to have these buttons or these cursors a little bit oversized than what's natural, just because it's a little bit easier to see. And how I'm going to create this movement is I'm going to use Motion Sketch. And if you've never used Motion Sketch before, it's really cool. Basically, it'll record the movement of your mouse and it'll apply it to whatever you want. So I'm going to take this cursor, let's move it down here to the bottom. And I know at this point on the timeline is when it's going to start opening up. So I need the mouse to go up there and click on this button before I get to this point on the timeline. And it's going to be really easy. So I bring the playhead to the beginning. I've got motion sketch. And if you don't have it already up there, just find it in your window. Right here, motion sketch. And I'm going to start capture. And it's not doing anything until I grab my layer and start dragging. And then this playhead will move and you'll see. So we're going to do it right now. Come up here and click, and then come down here. And I just dragged it and moved it with my mouse. So let's see how that looks. Cursor comes in, click, and then comes down. I think that looks pretty natural. So now we just need to add a click to it, which needs to happen right before it expands. Easiest way to do this is just by rotating it. So I'm going to click on my cursor, hit R on the keyboard, brings up my rotation. Keyframe, go forward 4 frames, so that's page down on the keyboard or page up to go up frames. Add another keyframe, so there's 2 keyframes at 0. Then go to the middle of it, so just 2 frames back, and let's go -7, and then you'll see here that mouse, just that little movement makes it look like it clicked. Now, this is why this next part I'm going to do is I'm going to make this icon look like it actually is kind of a button and it got pushed. And this is why I wanted it all in one shape layer instead of multiple ones. So I'm going to highlight the icon. Let's go up to Effect, Channel, Invert, then Effect, Channel, CC Composite. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keyframe the CC Composite opacity right there. Let's go forward to that last one, add another keyframe, and go to this middle one. And let's just bring the opacity down. About like that. And now it looks like, boom, push the button. Okay, almost done. We just need to add now the text into this to make it a nice finished look. So let's start with the first one that's just shown up. That just says search here at the beginning. And I like to use a nice lightweight font. I'm using Helvetica Neue in the thin setting. Now to create kind of that shininess, you go to Effect, Generate, CC Light Sweep. As we bring this here, you can see it creates that nice shininess. And I don't like some of the edges on this, so I'm going to take the edge intensity down to 0 and increase the sweep intensity. I like the way that looks better on this thin font. So with this, I'm just going to keyframe the center, have it start off, go forward about 12 frames, go all the way across, go forward 12 frames, and you don't have to go 12 frames, but that's just what I ended up doing. Because I'm in 24p, so it makes it nice and handy. Okay, and that will be the last one. All right, and you can see it's moving back and forth. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to hit U on this to bring up my keyframes, and I want to easy ease them, so F9, just to add a little bit of a different movement to it. And what I want to do is I want this in a different layer, so I'm going to bring this down below the text box. So as it opens up, it will automatically get covered. So now the last part is to add in the text on the inside. Let's use this same font. Enter your search term. Let's center it. Okay, and I want this to kind of fade on across, and so I'm going to do that with a mask. So I'm going to take this text layer, grab my mask tool, bring it on, I'm going to feather this quite a bit, about 100. And I might do more later. We'll have to see. And let's see. At this point is where I want it to start coming on. And then about right here is where it's all the way across. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it by time. And so my mask, I need to come in here and keyframe the path. Go to about right there. And let's move the mask all the way over here. And let's take a look at the animation. And I think I do need to bring this up. Let's go 150. All right, I'm going to render through this, and let's see what it looks like. Okay, so I hope you learned a lot. There's some really cool stuff in here. Lots of little things. And again, I've got that preset, so go down, check out that preset. Just click on the link in the description, and it'll take you to where you can download that preset. Now, I do have to tell you the preset is for After Effects CC right now, so if you're not on the Creative Cloud, it's not going to work properly for you. But if you are, go ahead and download it. And if you do have any questions, feel free to ask. I'd love to answer your questions. If you have any tutorial requests, that's a great thing to ask as well. And what I really want to see is I want to see what you guys come up with using this technique. I want to see some search bars, some website animations, or maybe even something cool you did with my preset. So I'd love to see it. I can't wait to see it. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you and see you next time.